This is DIY Cyber Guy with David W. Schrofer. Every week, he will show you how cybersecurity can be as easy as locking up your house at night. Now, here is your host, David W. Schrofer.
Welcome back, everybody, to DIY Cyber Guy. This is episode 73, the practical side of NFTs and blockchain, how to create your own opportunities. Now, this is for anybody who really wants to cross the chasm of technology being interesting and something of a curiosity to it being a practical tool that you can use to better your life, make more revenue, create opportunities that you might not be available to you based on where you live or how mobile you are or any other number of things. So here with me today to talk about this is Debbie Soon. Debbie has one of the most interesting bios that I think I've ever read. She is a Singaporean investor. She's a recent author. She's a former entrepreneur, and I guess I could say current entrepreneur. She's an art collector. She's an advocate of inclusivity. So welcome, Debbie.
Well, thank you so much for that kind and generous introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So let's jumpstart the conversation with this. How did you get involved with blockchain?
Gosh, so, I got involved in blockchain almost a little bit by accident in a way. So like you mentioned, I'm Singapore born and raised. For whatever reason, decided to relocate to the US in the middle of the pandemic. That was in 2021. I moved to LA and I guess all of a sudden realized that it was really hard to meet people in a new city in lockdown. So I guess I just ended up just spending way more time on the internet. I had heard about crypto like a couple of years prior. Like I've had obviously read the headlines, but I kind of found myself not really knowing much about it other than what I saw in a really short headline. So I just started diving deeper into the topic, started immersing myself in internet communities. And I think through that was really able to kind of form my first friends or make my new friends and new connections, basically being in a brand new country. And I guess through that, I met my co-founder, Randy Zuckerberg, who's, Mark Zuckerberg's older sister.
That's a very familiar name. Yes. Yeah. Last name anyway.
So I met Randy Zuckerberg in a Discord server. So you can essentially say that we met as strangers in an internet chat room. And honestly, a week later, we jumped on a Zoom call and then decided to build a company together because we were so excited about all of the opportunities that was happening in the blockchain industry. And the one thing that we both felt really passionate about was kind of supporting artists and creators. And so that was eventually what our venture was about, and it was called Hug. But yeah, I would say my whole kind of immersion into the blockchain space really came honestly out of a need for connection and a need to find friendships, after having, moved halfway across the world.
Interesting. So it sounds like that was the impetus, just the need to connect was the impetus for you getting involved in blockchain, but it also seemed to be the impetus for the creation of Hug. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. If you could just, I know Hug is not a sponsor, but I'd still love to hear a little bit about what that business model was, so we can connect that to some of the practical applications of blockchain and how it can be used.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hug from day one, its mission was really to empower all creatives to become entrepreneurs by providing them with the tools, the resources, the technology to really kind of monetize their work. And, at the time, we just felt that the blockchain presented such a unique opportunity, I think, especially for digital creators to monetize their work. And so Hug was, I think, first and foremost, a community. So it was a community of over 35,000 artists, but it was also a marketplace that allowed creators to sell their work, not just as NFTs, but also as physical items. So, just like, the art that I have on the back of my wall, but basically give creators different ways to monetize or diversify their revenue streams. And along the way, we also provided a lot of education to, introduce people to emerging technology and how they could incorporate that into their craft. And at the same time, also connected these creators with brands that were looking for innovative artists to work alongside by. So yeah, that was pretty much Hug, and proud to share that it got acquired at the end of last year by the .art domain registry, which is basically the domain name operator for .art. So just like a great amazing home for everything that we've built.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on the exit. Those are hard to do.
Yes, thank you.
And okay, so give me a practical, maybe like a personal story of either somebody that used Hug or story that you became familiar with during that process. Back to the theme of this episode, which is how you can actually create your own opportunities using some of this technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think in my book, I was really fortunate to, interview creators that I both admire and I would also now consider friends of mine. But yeah, I guess a couple of stories come to mind. There is this
What's the
really,
title of your book before
my
you
book
jump
is
in?
called Digital Mavericks. So
Digital
it's a,
Mavericks.
yeah, it's a, and the subtitle is a guide to Web3 NFTs and becoming the main character of the next internet revolution. So really kind of encouraging people
Excellent.
to step into the role and playing an active part of shaping, kind of that next internet.
Fantastic. Okay, and I'm sorry I interrupted. You were getting into your
No, no.
story.
But yeah, I mean, I think a couple of stories come to mind, but yeah, one of them is of this amazing AI collaborative artist called Claire Silver. Claire Silver is actually not her real name; is a pseudonym that she goes by.
Okay.
But she had a really modest upbringing. Kind of grew up in Middle America, like in the middle of cornfield. She kind of described that like her entire high school class, had like 15 people, and it was the same people that she started off like elementary school with.
Wow.
And like just wasn't given a lot of opportunity, just kind of given her upbringing and everything. I think she had always had a really vivid imagination, always wanted something more, wanted to go into academia. And then, I think in the process of all of that, unfortunately got hit by a severe chronic illness, which
Mm.
was very debilitating for her. I think during that time was when she, again, kind of through the power of the internet, connected with other people that were, experimenting with different tools. So these are AI tools that were long before ChatGPT or things that people are really familiar with today. But started kind of honing her craft like with AI because she couldn't really move, she couldn't really do much, and just became a really astounding kind of digital artist through her thoughts and her prompts and her words. And I guess eventually, as kind of blockchain started gaining more popularity and awareness, and again, she kind of found out about this through the community and the friends that she was making online. She found out that there were ways to kind of monetize all of these digital creations,
Okay.
whereas in the past there wasn't. I think in the past, if you had created an amazing digital artwork, you would essentially upload it on the internet for free so that everybody could consume it for free. But here, there was a new and novel way for collectors to really collect her pieces, and
Okay.
they are completely verified on a blockchain. And she started really kind of investing into her craft, like putting more time into it. And fast forward to today, she's an artist that is on display and in the permanent collection of the Los Angeles County Museum of Art.
Wow.
So in the LACMA, she's been auctioned off at Sotheby's and Christie's. So just truly like an
Wow.
incredible story in terms of how someone with such modest beginnings were really able to kind of embrace, emerging technology at such an early stage, and, take full advantage of it.
Let's say somebody listening to this podcast right now is an artist, digital artist, musician, perhaps, or something to that effect, and they want to take the first step, but in the back of their mind, they're just overwhelmed by the complexity and the unknown of blockchain. What is that first step that a person who just does not care about how the
Yeah.
technology works at all, but wants to take advantage of it? What's the first step that you'd recommend for that person?
Yeah, I mean, pick up a copy of my book. I could go through the steps, but
Outstanding. Digital
no.
Mavericks.
No, but I mean, I think honestly, it's easier than ever today for anyone to kind of go on chain. I guess one saying that we all like to say is that on chain is the new online. And remember, I
Yes.
think some of us remember a time growing up without the internet, and then all of a sudden getting access to the internet, and then all of a sudden the entire world was online. And I
Yes.
think one really easy way to think about blockchain, about Web3 in general, is that it is just that next natural progression. So instead of just people going online, we are going on chain. And so getting to experience the internet and basically in a slightly different way, but still in very, very familiar settings. So
So,
first off,
so
I was
just by virtue of going into a Web3 environment, and we could talk about how practically to do that, but just that experience still gives you background that might be helpful when you start using NFTs. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it. It's also just thinking about, actually, I think the perfect analogy is really, back in the day before the cloud, we all
Hmm.
had documents in our computer and those were kind of on local storage, right?
Yes.
So if your computer crashed or you forgot to save a file, that file was gone forever.
Yes.
Since then, I think, however many years ago, the cloud services became more commonplace, and now hardly anybody saves these documents on their computer. They are now on your Google Documents or whatever it is that you use.
Right.
And so essentially how that works is that your files being stored in a bunch of servers, right, that say Google or Amazon uses. But obviously there is the chance that, these servers go down, right? Which is why sometimes we have things like Instagram outages or like access down, and all of a sudden you can't access your content anymore, which is scary in the sense that that is your content to begin with and you should have full ownership over it.
Right.
And so when we talk about that next iteration of the internet, the way the technology works, without getting too much in the weeds about it, it is sufficiently decentralized enough where that it's impossible for your work to be lost ever because it is stored kind of like everywhere, I guess.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially, it's no real difference from the way the internet operates today. It's really just kind of like an evolution of it. I think
Right.
what happens when we're working in a decentralized internet or decentralized ecosystem is that it opens up a lot more opportunities in the way things can be monetized or the way that people can be connected with each other. There's a lot more freedom of flow of information, no longer being in walled gardens, I guess, but rather kind of having access to, different people, different ecosystems, different platforms. So I know it's like hard to kind of dive into all of it in such a short period of time, but hopefully that
Sure.
kind of gives people a sense of how it's not something that they necessarily should be fearing. It's really like I think the way that I've always tried to describe it is that it's just a continuation of the path that we've been on.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so just to maybe speak to one of those artists that's listening right now that kind of lost us a little bit when we said it's going to be
Yeah.
stored everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, the nature of blockchain is that multiple computers, not just in any one geographic area, but all over the world, literally are working off the same key, the same hash of the same key to make sure that any change that happens to that blockchain is recorded and validated by all of them. And it's the fact that they all have the same one and they're all validating the same hash is what keeps it accurate and what keeps it working. So if the entire northeast of the United States went into some crazy blackout and
Hmm.
and all internet somehow went offline, which is nearing the end of credulity. But
Hmm.
if that actually happened, there's still servers all over the world that not only have the key to access whatever that product is or whatever that NFT is or anything that's stored on a blockchain, but also the ability to validate that it is in fact yours. That will never be in question. Now, so that's my host
Yes.
description to
Perfect.
20,000 people. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's perfect. And I think going back to the original question as to how can an artist like, who doesn't want to, everything that we just discussed and they like honestly couldn't care less how it all work, like,
Right.
how could they, stop putting their work on chain? There are so many great platforms, up and running today. And again, they make the process so much more seamless. I would say that when I first got introduced to NFTs, I first got introduced to the blockchain 4 years ago, it was way more unwieldy. Like, the steps were, like you had like to jump through a lot of hoops and
Yeah.
everything kind of came with a warning label, right? Which was, really pretty terrifying. I can definitely recommend like a couple of applications that's like an application called Rodeo. You
Rodeo.
can go into the App Store and you can just download it. It's almost like an Instagram essentially, and you could just go in there and upload your work, and then it gets on chain. And instead of people just liking your work as they do on Instagram right now, like obviously we all love the dopamine hit if we see like 100 likes or however many 500 likes, 1,000 likes, but you don't
Yes.
get paid for any of those likes, right?
Right.
So I think what Rodeo does, what applications like Rodeo does, and there are a couple of other different ones as well, including one called Zora, is that when somebody likes your work. They're not just liking it, they're actually collecting your work. And I think how blockchain helps facilitates that is that it makes it really easy for these micro payments to be paid out to you. So,
Right.
maybe it's not that much. Maybe it's only like 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, or however much it is per quote unquote like. But but that's still more money than you would have made by just uploading your content on the internet for free, right? And I think
Sure.
there was some time ago there was this documentary that came on Netflix called The Social Network, and one of the phrases that was the quotes that was widely shared was that if you're not paying for the product, then you are the
You
product
are the
essentially.
product. Yeah.
You are the product and you're being monetized. So, I think this
I,
blockchain
I,
and
I
is
think
is a
your
great
partner's
opportunity.
brother may have done a little work on
Oh,
that,
that's true. That
Maxim.
is true. Yeah, the irony. But yeah, I mean, I think now we're in a day and age where I'm not gonna say that it's perfect. There's still a long way to go, and I think we're still trying to figure out as an industry what are some of the sustainable models there are out there. But if you're somebody that is keen to experiment and keen to learn, there are opportunities out there to, make money off the content that you're putting out and sharing with the world already.
Excellent. Excellent. So, and it's rodeo.club. Am I right about that?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. And so the first thing that a user would, or this hypothetical artist that's listening to us right now would need to do, I assume, is go download Brave as a browser or one of the Web3 compatible browsers. Firefox is not, Chrome is not, right? And then start working with something like a true Web3 website like rodeo.club. Is
No,
that
I
about
mean, I
right?
think that's the beauty of it too. I think like in the beginning, like, 4 years ago, that might have been the case. Today, you could go to your iOS app store, download Rodeo and get started. Like
Oh,
they
right.
have, yeah,
Download the
like
app.
embedded
Okay.
wallets,
Yep.
everything. Like, you can just sign up an email address. You don't need to understand anything about like seed phrases.
Yeah.
Obviously there are like, if you want to like take it a step further and sell your work on an NFT marketplace, like an OpenSea, there are like different steps to that. Like you could create your own
Gotcha.
cryptocurrency wallet and you could, but I guess, yeah, my point being is that there are multiple ways to kind of get on chain right now. 4 years ago, that wasn't really the case. Like 4 years ago, there was a whole bunch of onerous steps where you had to, like find a crypto exchange, get crypto there, and then
Sure.
figure
Yeah.
out and figure out and then transfer that money into somewhere else, and like it was just so many things that you had to take note of. Make sure that you were safe and downloading the right browser extension. Today, like the infrastructure has improved so much where the idea of like even getting on chain or doing something on chain is just so
It's as
simple.
easy as downloading an app.
Exactly. And it's just in a
Gotcha.
very like even the identity authentication is not that, in the past you needed to have a wallet to connect to a
Right.
website and people are like, what is that? Right
Right.
now it's like email, password, all of a sudden it's just become like really seamless and really easy to, experience this kind of new internet and really have it at your fingertips.
So start with your mobile device, your Chromebook, and go to Google Play or go to the Apple App Store and just download one of the apps. Don't bother going to the website because it's just too complicated. If you're
Yeah,
truly a beginner and
exactly.
just trying to get started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great advice. Great advice. Debbie, it's been great having you on the show. Where can people find out more about what you do?
Yeah, so definitely check out my book, Digital Mavericks. Is available on Amazon or on Barnes and Noble. You can connect with me on Twitter or X as they call it now. I'm at Debsoon on Twitter. And then I also use a decentralized social platform called Farcaster. So that's another great way if you're looking to meet people who are pretty new or like, I mean, there's a whole range of people. People who have been in the space for a really long time. People who are
Sure.
just like curious and getting started. But on Farcaster, I'm at Debbie. And I'm happy to connect with anyone. I
Hey,
always love
wow.
kind of
It's a great
sharing with
handle.
yeah, I know. So, I would love but yeah, like I always ask myself, who did I wish that I had when I first entered the space? And I want to be that person to someone who is new to it. So I'm always here to answer any questions. If anything seems way too complicated, I'm here. I'm here to make it all make sense.
Can you spell that application so my listeners can hear it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can download, well, the application is called WARPcast. So you can download WARPCAST. So you can download WARPcast,
Okay.
and yeah, and then I'm at Debbie on that platform.
Perfect. All right. So for everybody, just you can also go to DIY Cyber Guy, search for episode 73 or Debbie Soon, and you will find all of these links, all of these apps, and all of the different ways that you can get onto Web3 and actually make money off of your work product if your work product is digital in any way. Debbie, this has been a fantastic conversation. I can't wait to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to be back too.
That's all the time we have today. Remember, for the show notes from this episode, or to listen to any of our past episodes, or to get a free chapter from my book, Digital Habits, just go to DIYCyberGuy.com. And if you want to buy my book, just go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and search the keywords Digital Habits 5 Simple Tips. If you have questions or an idea for the show, just email me at questions@DIYCyberGuy.com. And if this show helps you stay safe online, please click the share button and send it to everyone you think we can help. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to DIY Cyber Guy. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this broadcast are for general information only, and we have not knowingly divulged any information that would conflict with any of our non-disclosure or confidentiality agreements. Enjoy the internet safely.